So Major League Baseball Advanced Media was started in 2000, and essentially it's the online arm of Major League Baseball, because the product I'm going to talk about today is, streaming Major League Baseball, and someone might wonder, how did a company get those rights? Well, we're owned by baseball, so that, it certainly helps. But my group, we not only work on this product, we also do ticket analytics and some other things, but today I'm primarily going to focus on MLBTV. We're trying to increase engagement and reduce churn. And with that, guys, in the back, can you play the video?
2017 marks the 15th anniversary of MLB.TV, yet another milestone in baseball's long and distinguished history of innovation. Since 1869, when Harper's Weekly featured the Cincinnati Reds, the national pastime has been at the forefront of media and technology, changing the way fans consume the game and people around the world interact. Thomas Edison recorded the first motion picture of baseball in 1898, making it the first team sport ever captured on film. The first radio broadcast of a game occurred in 1921. And on August 26, 1939, the first Major League Baseball game would be televised. With each generation, baseball and media would grow together. In 1947, the first televised World Series game became one of the biggest events in television history. In 1962, a game between the Phillies and Cubs was the first video signal ever broadcast across the Atlantic. And in January of 2000, baseball would take yet another leap forward. Under the leadership of Commissioner Bud Selig, the league would centralize its digital rights, forming an independent technology company with the mission of delivering baseball to the next generation of fans. On August 26th of 2002, exactly 63 years from the date of the first televised game, MLB Advanced Media would unveil its first live stream. MLB.TV would help baseball make history once again by becoming the first professional sports league to stream its entire season. Over the past 15 years, MLB.TV has been a trailblazer in media, delivering over 2 billion live video streams around the globe. In 2015, the Emmy Award-winning MLB.TV launched a new dynamic web-based player, offering true HD as well as Spanish audio overlays. In 2016, MLB.TV introduced new live streaming technology, offering the best HD picture quality ever, with 60 frames per second on over 400 supported devices. For the first time, fans also had access to follow the game with live StatCast tracking data and utilize the revolutionary multitasking and picture-in-picture technology to watch MLB.TV outside of at-bat on the iPad, a first in mobile video history. These innovations signal more milestones in MLB.TV's history, further cementing its place as the #1 sports streaming service ever. It's this constant innovation that has seen MLB.TV push the boundaries of streaming video and new technologies, helping define how live sports experiences are delivered to the current and next generation of fans.
So as you can see, it's a product that's been around 15 years. And just out of curiosity, are there any MLB.TV subscribers in the audience? That's good. How about before this video, are people in the audience at least familiar with the product? Yeah, great. Well, so with that being said, I think the one thing that wasn't clearly mentioned in the video, and it should be pointed out, this is an out-of-market product, meaning that if you live in Philadelphia and you cannot watch Phillies games on it. So this is that's one thing to point out. And with that being said, I'll just start getting into the nuts and the bolts of it. So when we think about MLB.TV, there's a few different ways that you can buy it. The top and bottom options on this slide are yearly, and that means you're billed once a year. And really what we're going to focus on today is monthly, and that means you're billed in 30-day increments, billed $24.99 a month. And one thing we did when we started looking at this, we started seeing that there's kind of two ways to cancel. There's actively canceling, which means you come to the website, or you call in and you say, I no longer want to cancel my subscription. And then we also have more like passive cancels. And that's somebody that, when we go to bill them, that either their credit card has expired or they have insufficient funds. So we've removed those passive cancels just because we feel like that's a different kind of signal to find in all of this, in all the data. And churn, beyond being something that that from a revenue standpoint we'd be interested in. We're also interested in it, just to better understand baseball fans, because as a customer-centric company and as the league itself, the fans are our lifeblood. Without fans, we wouldn't be much. So this next slide is really kind of what I'm going to walk through today, and I kind of break this down into two things. First of all, we have to get good at predicting the churn, and then we have to get good at preventing the churn. And my background is in math and stats, and the thing that was exciting to me when I first approached this is we get to predict things, but as I found out, actually the harder part is finding that actual right group of subscribers that you can actually, you can send them a message and their behavior changes in a good way. So I'll start on the left side of this slide, just quickly going over some of the inputs we consider. So this is a proprietary system platform that was developed by us. So from a usage standpoint, I know the number of games you watched, the time you watched, how many times you started and stopped a stream. Did you try to watch games that you may have been blacked out for, meaning you're in the TV market? And I know that at a device and a platform level. So you can imagine, we can look at it at a daily basis. We can look at it cumulatively. We can, tons and tons of features to create there. And then the other thing, the next input is MLBTV transactions, and that's essentially, past purchases. And the way this product is sold is every season, you'll stop, the season stops, and the next season you get billed again. But what we do with the past transactions, we'll look at, how many years have you had the product? Have you ever churned before? How much did you pay when you owned it in the past? And then we look at things like, are you set to auto-renew the next season? And things of that nature. The next input is quality of service, and that's essentially just bit rate of the stream. And what we do is we just, coming in, we kind of had a hypothesis, is, are there some people who are canceling, not because they don't like the product, but just because they're having a bad experience? And then from the usage data, we are able to derive if someone has a favorite team. And if they do have a favorite team, we are able to, looking at the baseball standings, kind of take in to account that team's performance. Because I always say, especially when I want to talk about ticket sales or anything, the 800-pound gorilla in the room, when you talk about sports, is kind of that team performance. If the product on the field isn't good, it always makes life tougher. So thinking about all those inputs, we're kind of munging the data, getting it in the right form, and I'll talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. But we run some predictive models every night, and we're putting subscribers into one of three groups. You're either likely to churn, on the fence, or unlikely to churn. And we can certainly get more granular than that, but for this project, we just found that's kind of the right way to do that. And really what we're doing is, to get those buckets, we're just essentially letting a predictive model kind of group subscribers, and if that group is much more, has a much higher churn rate than the overall population, they're likely to churn. And then if it's about the same as the overall population, those folks are considered on the fence. And then if they're much less likely to churn, we classify them as unlikely to churn. So after all that kind of the scoring goes on, we essentially feed that into a campaign management system. And from that campaign management system, that's where we're firing off our targeted campaigns to these subscribers. And things we've tried in the past are emails. We have a message that will pop up in the player, and then paid media. Today, I'm primarily going to talk about what we've done in the past around some email A/B testing. I think we have some very good results to share. So I think this is important. Just thinking about this data is, some of it is at a usage level, so it's one row per stream. Others of it is at a purchase level. You have one row per purchase, and then you have the baseball table. So there's a lot of data coming together at many different levels. So I think that's an important part, maybe for the folks who are kind of getting into this for the first time. Getting the data in the right form. If you can get there, the building the models is I would say it's not the easy part, but it's probably the less labor-intensive part. And just one other thing I will mention is with our data, kind of thinking about, since we know so much about what these folks are doing, these tables get very wide. We can sometimes have 20 to 50,000 possible attributes to use. So I would recommend, and what we do is dimension reduction. And what we've done here is this is just kind of a many logistic regression models. So we did principal components analysis, but I think depending on the type of model you're going to build, you can think about information gain, or there's many ways to reduce your dimensions. But I would just keep that in mind. I wouldn't recommend trying to build a model with 20,000 attributes. You can, but I wouldn't recommend it. So actually, this is the models. Each blue box is a model, and the reason that they're, it's either 30-day increments. That's how people are billed. The one thing I will point out is when we first approached this problem, if we think about subscribers, there's some folks who are auto-renewed, meaning at the beginning of the season, or they were a past purchaser, they said, yes, I want the product again, they get auto-renewed. And they obviously churn at a much lower rate than these folks who are not auto-renewed, meaning they could be a past purchaser, or they might be brand new and they're coming in and purchasing. So when I first approached this problem, me and my team, we really thought, okay, we'll just break it by auto-renew and not auto-renew. And we can, we'll be on our way, we'll build 10, 14 models, whatever it takes, this, easy peasy. But the problem we ran into is if you kind of look at the diagonal there of March 0 to 30, April 0 to 30, kind of all the way down to August 0 to 30, modeling all those folks together, what happened, we were able certainly to build a model, but then if we go and then to that same model, just look at the months individually, it's all of a sudden, it's like, oh wow, what we've done is we built a model around many populations. So after some further data analysis, we determined that the actual kind of the easiest way, I think, from a business standpoint and just the way the data broke is breaking it by month of purchase, and that's for the non-auto-renewed models, that's they're just many, many more than we initially had planned on building. But I think it certainly passes a common sense test too, because I would say that subscriber who comes in and buys in April is very different than that subscriber who buys in August. So seasonality is a huge thing that we have to think about. And then just something else to think about since we do have usage, when we really this is talking about kind of communications. This is from the business folks. They obviously want as many days as they can to try to message that consumer. What we've done here is the kind of the green parts are in that 30-day window. How many days can are we able to send messages to that person? Because for building some of these models, we actually ended up going into the prediction period. While that's not optimal, we decided to do that because hey, at the end of the day, we want to build the best, most powerful model, but still keeping in mind if we go very, very far into the prediction period, the model may look great on paper, but it's more descriptive than predictive at that point, and you've really kind of hamstrung yourself with many of the people have probably already churned, and the people who haven't, you just have very few days to talk to them. So with this approach, what we were able to do, and this is something that's been kind of debated in the office for many years, is we're kind of able to look across the models, and this is kind of the month of churn across the bottom, and we're able to kind of rank the attributes that are driving churn, and we're able to finally answer that question, are those attributes changing over time? And I think that the big takeaway to me from this slide is if looking at May and June, you see team performance does become important, but wow, all of a sudden in July, that becomes super important, and then it kind of dies off again. And I think, this is from the 2016 data. We've done this again this year. We see team performance does kind of peak, maybe not as much in July, as in past years. But really, what it is I think we're seeing that there is that kind of jump-off point. Fans do say, I don't think this is my team's year. I think before we did this, we weren't able to quantify that, and now we are. And so I think that the business folks in the room are probably like, all right, math guy, enough about the models, let's talk about results. So going back to thinking about the three groups of subscribers, we had the likely to churn, on the fence, and unlikely to churn. Just from working with the folks in the business, we didn't want to burden people who were kind of behaving the way we wanted to. So the unlikely to churn folks, for this testing, we just left alone. We said they're behaving, they're not churning at a very high rate. Let's put them aside for now. And so what we did is we said, okay, let's focus on the likely to churn and on the fence folks. And so what we did is we took each of those groups and we split them in two. So for example, we took the likely to churn folks and we split them into two groups. One group got an engagement email, which is the graphic on the right, and that would be if you're a Cubs or Nationals fan. And if you're not, you would probably have gotten 5 games as opposed to just the one. But we sent 50% of that likely to churn group an email once a week, and the other group did not get an email. And these emails were sent on Wednesdays, and generally speaking, if you open the email the week before, you were suppressed, so we're not burdening our subscribers with too many communications. But the thing that was by far the most interesting finding about all this is the folks who were on the fence, That group that got the email actually, in 5 days after the email was sent, engaged with the product at a 10% higher rate. And then over time, we were able to monitor them, and they started, they were churning at a 3% lower rate. And this is, again, this was out of the gate. This is the first kind of churn, engagement type email we were sending. So we thought that was a big win. But anytime you have, kind of a success, you got to talk about your, the things that you learned as well. And I think that's with the likely to churn. I was talking to Eric a couple weeks ago about this presentation, and he said to me, it's kind of like letting dead dogs lie. And I think the likely to churn folks, that's kind of what we found. We would send them an email, and we would just get them to cancel a few days sooner than they normally would. So we quickly, we quickly, stopped those campaigns. And I think that is one thing. I'll say we're very fortunate at MLB, and I think most people just call it BAM, to have an executive team that lets us try a lot, but it's start the test small, show me the results, and that's how we were able to kind of get this. We've kind of through other things have kind of built up a reputation as, hey, we're the data guys, we can prove things. But just start small, and then with this, having some good results for 2017, they let us get a little more ambitious. And that's the next slide. Essentially what we've done is we've kind of increased the program overall to kind of look at it as more of like a whole customer life cycle. And in that, I've already kind of talked about the middle part of the slide, but we've actually started a win-back campaign this year where we're essentially borrowing the kind of that churn score, and we're saying, hey, if somebody was likely to churn and they churn, we'll probably just send them an email that says, please come back. But that person who's on the fence, we said, well, we've found that we can kind of influence their behavior. We'd maybe like to try to get them back, so we'll say, come back next month, half off. But those people who are unlikely to churn and actually, cancel their subscription, we think, wow, that's a great customer. We're going to get that person back, so we'll send them an email, please come back. Next month's on us. And what we've actually found is if we can get those people to come back, they're actually very sticky. So we thought that was a big win. And one thing we've added to the onboarding process, and that's right when somebody signs up, we're asking for folks' favorite team and favorite player, and we plan to use that for engagement messages in the future. And then one other thing we do is we have a mobile-only product that's at bat. That's kind of a step down from MLBTV. But if you are an MLBTV subscriber, you get at bat, and we encourage people, MLBTV subscribers, to purchase that, because one of the big aha findings with all the models we built is it's actually not time watched or games watched or even sometimes days used. It's actually number of devices watched on. And the way I kind of describe that to folks is it's kind of active watching versus passive watching. I come home and I just put the game on and I go, do laundry or something else. I may watch 3 hours, but that person who watches it on their phone on the bus home, gets home, puts it on their Apple TV, and then maybe right before they go to bed, they go put it on another device in their bedroom. That person is very engaged and very unlikely to churn. So I think in closing, just a few high-level takeaways here. There are many more models. We ended up having to build many more than were expected. But I think that's okay. I mean, at the end of the day, you don't just want to build as few models. You really want to kind of model to the population. But I think by doing that, we could without a doubt start to quantify that what's driving churn over time. And then, by far the most important thing we found about this was actually finding that right group of subscribers who we could message, and when we messaged them, we would get positive behavior, and that was those folks who were on the fence. And then again, it's having those small test results, promising results from the 2016 season, and being able to automate that and really expand it to a whole customer life cycle for the 2017 season, where that was it was a big win for us. So with that said, that's it.